Today, we're with someone who's no stranger to the sand, a powerhouse on the beach volleyball court, Hayley Harward. Hayley, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Can't wait.
So let's start a little bit with your background, if you're okay. You grew up in Phoenix, Arizona. In that time frame, what really drew you to volleyball?
Yeah, so there's actually a beach volleyball court at the park behind my house. So growing up, I would go to the park because my brother played basketball. So there were actually basketball courts as well. And I would just kind of hang around while he was playing basketball. And one of his teammates had a little sister who would come and watch as well. And this sister played volleyball. I did not play volleyball, but she was so fun and just invited me to come play and just kind of bump the ball around with her. And I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing. And she was like, no, it's so fun. It doesn't matter. Just have fun. And we just had a blast, just keeping the ball from hitting the floor. And from there, she invited me to play on her YMCA team. And then I fell in love with just the team aspect of it, and then played club indoor, and then started playing beach when I was about 12. So I started indoor when I was 9, beach when I was 12, and then played both until college.
So you ended up, you did indoor, then you went to beach, and then you started to build a name for yourself in college.
Yeah,
right?
so I knew I wanted to go to California for college. That was like a big criteria because a lot of those schools would let you play indoor and beach, whereas a lot of other schools separate those two. So I knew I wanted to go to Southern California. To me, that was just like the dream. Coming from Arizona, it's just like the dream spot by the beach. So then, yeah, I did my undergrad
I bet.
at Cal State Long Beach, and then we can talk more about that, and then transferred to USC and did grad school there. And I'm living in the South Bay area now.
Do you want to share a little bit about what that was like for you to be so successful in that season?
Is this at Long Beach?
At Long Beach, yes.
So, yes, I can speak on my career there. I played indoor for 4 seasons with them, and I played beach for only 2 seasons with them because of an injury. And then I graduated early and transferred out. So my time at Long Beach was filled with ups and downs, plenty of coaching changes, and just plenty of girls transferring in and out. So there was a lot of change in my time there, but ultimately stuck it out the 4 years playing on the indoor side, and had some really, really amazing times there and some really challenging times there as well.
Sounds like a mix. So there were the aspects of, hey, this isn't working out the way I'd hoped. I'm being pushed beyond with losses, maybe with coach changes, it sounds like, and then a lot of successes. And leaving home and doing this sounds like on your own. What was that like for that young girl trying to adjust to all this?
That's a great question. It was definitely difficult during those times where, like you said, it wasn't panning out the way I had dreamed. And, comparison can creep in of just other girls I grew up with going to different schools and thriving and pursuing the things that I had hoped to pursue in terms of winning their conferences, playing in the national championship tournament. Those were all goals and dreams that I had that we never reached on my indoor program. So that was definitely tough, but ultimately now I know that it was leading me towards transferring to USC and having a lot of success there. And yeah, I wouldn't trade it. Looking back, I wouldn't trade those hard moments. In the middle of it, I was like, I don't know what to do. This is just a tough situation, but afterwards, looking back, I definitely grew a lot in my relationships with people there through those struggles.
It sounds like it built your character and your understanding in ways that if you had just had none of these changes and had what other people had, you wouldn't have some of these traits, some of these skills. And
For
you're
sure.
grateful for it.
For sure. I think that's the beauty within hard times and within trials. Whenever you're in it, it's not fun. But I think if you can if you can really try to zoom out and learn from them, I think that's where it's only going to make you better and only going to make you stronger than if you hadn't gone through those things.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about, you moved into USC as a grad student. You chose there because, and then tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I actually was deciding between USC or LSU in Louisiana. And it was a really tough decision, but ultimately it came down to just staying in Southern California where I already was living, and just the beach volleyball scene in Southern California. It's like the beach volleyball mecca of the world. It's just where all the pros were training and where Team USA headquarters is for beach volleyball. And I mean, USC as a school in general is just amazing. So that's kind of where all of that panned out. And so I just drove up to downtown LA from Long Beach, and there we were.
And how long were you there? How many years were you with USC?
Because of COVID, this was crazy. I got another year of eligibility. So I was actually there for 2.5 years when I was only going to be there for a year and a half. So I got an extra year there.
And was that valuable to you? Did you enjoy having that extra year?
It was amazing. We won another national championship. And yeah, I had some struggles mentally there as well, though, which I'd love to share about.
Please, yeah. Because you guys were really dominant and doing really well. Was it 34-1 record in your final season?
Yes. So me and my partner, so the way beach volleyball works is it's similar to tennis, where there's different courts. So we had courts 1 through 5, all playing at the same time. And so my senior year, my senior year, I was on the number 1 pair, and I was paired up with a girl who played in the Olympics for Latvia. And we actually went 34-1 that season. So we had tremendous success. But within that, there was still a lot of negative self-talk from myself and this feeling of like burnout, even though I was finally where I wanted to be. And so I think I would love to just share more about that. When I was at Long Beach, I thought, oh, all these girls who are winning national championships and pursuing their highest level, like they're killing it. That's where I want to be. And then when I got there, initially it wasn't as fulfilling as I had thought. And so it took a lot of deep dive to figure out what was going on. And so I just want to share that as hopefully an encouragement to somebody that the grass is not always greener on the other side. Everyone's going through things, even people that are in a position you wish to be in. So yeah, I hope that can be an encouragement.
Whether you're an athlete or striving for something, and I have found that with individuals, when people accomplish what they want, it isn't as fulfilling as they had hoped. And they tend to be disappointed or unfulfilled, or you name it. So for you, here you are at the height of what you wanted. What was some of the negative self-talk, if we can dive a little deeper into it, that was happening for you because you were feeling somewhat unfulfilled?
Right. So this was the first half of that senior season. Paired up at the number 1 spot. That's a place I hadn't been yet, but I always was striving to be on that number 1 spot. And I just put so much pressure on myself, and it wasn't coming from my coaches. It wasn't coming from my teammates. And I just made up my mind that because my partner was an Olympian, she shouldn't lose. And if we lose, it's all my fault. And I was just placing these expectations that were not realistic. And so we lost our second match of the season, and my partner wasn't like, she was the sweetest thing ever. Like, she was basically not upset about it. I mean, as a competitor, yes, but it didn't derail her the way it derailed me a little bit, just based on like, we should go undefeated. We should be, even beating people wasn't good enough for me. It was like, we need to beat people by more points. And so it was just this constant, like, nothing ever felt good enough. And that was only myself putting all these expectations of almost like perfection on what I was doing. And I know now that we're striving for perfection, but we're not requiring it. And I think requiring perfection of yourself is not attainable, and it's going to just make you so tense and so tight in whatever you're doing. And so halfway through the season, I finally was making myself so miserable that I was meeting with multiple sports psych, and I just was like, I don't even care anymore. I just want to have fun. And my parents just wanted that for me. Like they wanted me to enjoy it. Like we were on the number one team in the country. You know, I'm on the number one pair. We're winning still, but I just wasn't fun for me. And so finally, when I let go and just started having more fun, the same thing could happen, but I would tell myself something different about it, whether it be a mistake or something. I flipped the way I was thinking about it to be more positive. And then I started playing way better. But it all started from this mindset shift of I'm making myself so unhappy that I just have lost my joy. And I just want to be back to doing this for the joy of what it is and connecting with my teammates. And so the rest of the season was amazing. I had so much fun playing and played a lot better. And then it was like a cycle, like, well, now I'm having more fun because I'm playing better, but I'm playing better because I just chose to have more fun. And that was kind of the thing that brought me out of that hole and allowed me to really flourish and step into that role with confidence instead of feeling like nothing I did was good enough.
That mind shift change, it sounds like it was a bit of a process to get to. It changed your whole world. But the way you describe it, it sounds almost instant. But what were some of the components where it finally just went, oh, that's it. That's what I'm doing. And the power behind that, you just went with it.
Yeah.
So what were some of the supports that got you there?
Definitely my family. Speaking into my volleyball situation, you know, they were just like, we don't ask anything of you other than to just be yourself and have fun. That's what they kept supporting me, but it was just my own pursuit of excellence was kind of outweighing, I guess, what the actual goal was. I think for me, the goal so much was to win. Like it was so outcome focused. And if I made mistakes or if the game was close, I was not having fun because I was so outcome focused. But when it flipped to being more joyful, that's not an outcome. That's all in the process. And in the warm-ups, I'm hyping up my teammates. I'm having fun. And thus, I don't care as much about every little movement. My hit on the ball, everything has to be perfect. I was just out there having fun with my teammates, being loud, being vocal. And I think that, like you said, it sounds instantaneous. It definitely was not. But I think for me, it is a choice. And for all athletes, I'm starting to work with college and high school girls who are playing volleyball on this mental piece, that a lot of it is a choice. And we can practice it. We can practice choosing the things that are going to make us feel and play our best, even when it's not easy. But that's when we need it the most. When we're in this dark place, we need to be able to choose joy, for me, or choose connecting with your teammates when you don't feel like it, because you know that's going to put you in a better headspace. So it was not instantaneous.
Yeah, no, but so powerful what you're saying, because it's this idea of, one, it's choice. And even if you're building up to try to have the right perspective, there's moments where you can go down this other path and choose perfection again and overwhelm yourself again and never be enough. Or in that moment, you can go, you know what? My thing is joy. I'm going to choose joy. And that made all the difference. Whether it's sports or career or whatever, when someone looks too much at the outcome, and I think this is what I hear you say, they lose the joy of the process.
Definitely.
That is so true.
Yeah. And I think another thing that was brought to my attention is this concept of the gap versus the gain. And essentially it's a similar thing, but if you're always looking at the gap between where you are and where you want to be, as, you know, driven people, that line is always going to keep moving forward and forward. There's no end to our potential. And so you can feel like you're on a hamster wheel. It's like, well, I still have so much to improve. I still have so far to go. But looking at the gain is looking at how far you have come and looking at what you do have and focusing on your strengths and just kind of building more of that positivity and foundation of like, oh, wow, no, I do. Look at how far I've come. Look where I am right now and how much I've grown, and acknowledging that and giving yourself some credit for the work you're doing, I think is huge. We all need to focus on those mini victories and kind of look back on where we've come from, because only striving to this never-ending goal is going to burn you out.
Absolutely. Like physically burn you out, mentally, and eventually you get to the point where you don't even want to do it anymore.
Exactly.
Have you experienced that where you're like, I'm done, I'm out?
Yeah, that's how I felt. Like even before one of my matches, I was in a sports psych meeting and I had like a tear in my eye and I was like, I don't want to go play because I was making myself miserable. So very grateful to come out of that.
To be moving, but the lessons that you learn through that, these are great strategies for anyone to be able to use in life when they are after a goal, because that's what it was. You were after a goal, and this beautiful energy behind that and intention, but sometimes that intention and that energy goes too far and we actually lose ourselves and the outcome becomes too much and we stop feeling happy and joyful. And that's when we need to stop and really change our mindset. And this, I mean, in terms of this, your mindset was changed. Often our mindset will impact our body and vice versa. And you use your body a lot. Are there ways you had to talk to your body or train your body differently so that it would experience joy while it was playing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, body language is huge, and just your demeanor on the court. And so this is something I'm still working on, but I remember a sports psych told me you can feel nervous but not act nervous. And so that just kind of clicked for me of, oh, wow, I have more control over my emotions, over my body language than I think I do. And again, it's just noticing what's happening and then choosing how you want to be and choosing how you want to respond. So forcing myself sometimes to smile or make a joke to my partner when things are rough just kind of lightens the mood. And for me, that's great. Maybe for other people, it's like, no, now is not the time for a joke. But for me, that was super helpful. And it's not always easy. Or like keeping my shoulders back when I'm feeling like I don't want people looking at me, or I'm not confident. Just keeping my shoulders back, connecting with my partner is huge. So like eye contact, high fives, because, if we make a mistake, sometimes I don't love going over and high fiving my partner because I might be frustrated. And I'm like, let's just move on to the next one. But like you said, kind of teaching my body some routines and familiarity and things that I can kind of latch on to when times are uncertain or when times are hard, to try to bring about that calmness.
Rituals, like some basic rituals, high fives, eye contact, put your shoulders back. And you can run through these. And when you change your body, your mind starts to follow, is what I'm hearing from you. We're right with it.
Right.
Like, we got this. We're okay. We might feel nervous, but my body's not going to show that right now. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, sometimes you just got to fake it and the rest will become natural.
Okay. Yeah. After your experience there, is that when you started to get that call to join the national team? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so after USC, we had won 2 national championships. My partner and I were named, College Pair of the Year. And the next step for me was to play pro. And me and my friends who are also pros joke, like, do you just call yourself a pro? Like, what makes you a pro beach volleyball player? Because you can just sign up for these professional tournaments. And if you have enough points to get in, or if you qualify by winning some matches, you're in these professional tournaments. So we're like, when do we call ourselves pros? Is there like a limit or something? How many tournaments do you play in?
Yeah.
But I think I finally stepped into that fully when I won a pro championship domestically on the AVP tour. I was in my first season pro. I was like, okay, I can call myself a pro now because I'm validated by this external thing, which I don't recommend. I recommend like owning what you're doing before you have the result you want.
Okay.
But
So you would have called yourself a pro beforehand and
I
just
would,
lived in.
when people would ask me like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, I play beach volleyball, but I wouldn't say like professionally. I just, for some reason, it took me a minute to really like step into that role. And that's something else I want to encourage people is like, if you're doing something you love, step into that role and be confident in that and be bold with it. And don't wait for this external validation before you really validate yourself and believe in yourself that you can do it.
Own that 100% and to walk in that without external validation. If you would have done it that way, how differently do you think you would have felt or behaved?
I think I would have just been more confident and more matter of fact that this is new to me. You know, I'm out of college now. I'm doing this pro thing. It's a little uncertain, but I am a pro and I am pursuing this. And I think that would have just given me just a little bit more, a fraction more confidence in my everyday at practice and in my everyday of lifting. Just like, am I trying to be a pro? It's like, no, I'm a pro. And here are my goals and here's what I'm doing. And just, it's scary to have goals and to have dreams. I think saying them out loud and fully embracing them, like that's how I felt recently, telling people, 2028 Olympics, that's my goal. And really believing that can be scary, but the more you step into that and the more you believe it, I would rather go about chasing my goal that way than chasing it with those doubts alongside.
So, yeah, let's go of doubts and pushes you. Have you, and this might go off track a little bit, but when you've experienced failure, how have you managed that failure?
Sometimes really well and sometimes really poorly. And I think it just depends why that is. Sometimes I take on the failure as like very personal, like it's challenging like my identity. But since becoming a believer, like my beliefs are that I'm valid regardless of my performance in God's eyes. So that has shifted the way I handle failure like dramatically, because it no longer is an attack on my identity, but it's more so just showing ways that I can improve. And that's easy to say, but losing still hurts, failing still hurts, but I'm able to get over it more quickly when I recognize it for what it is. And it's like, okay, well, I messed up in this game in these ways. And I have a team that supports me. So next week, let's work on these things. They just exposed some areas that I can work on. Next time I play this team, they better watch out. You know what I'm saying? So kind of flipping that as well.
Yeah.
And it's easy to say that when not a lot is on the line, but I've had failures in my sport where we play in tournaments all around the world. And so I would fly to Poland and we're playing in a single elimination qualifying match. And if you lose, you don't make any money. You don't make any points. And it's just, it feels like such a big setback towards your goals of qualifying for the Olympics. So that has happened to me a few times where I fly across the world. I'm in this very pressure-filled situation and I lose. And I'm trying not to stress about the money of like, how am I going to, pay for these flights? And just things of that nature, when there's a lot more perceived pressure, feeling that weight of failure can really get to you and really almost like feel like a crushing weight. But
Absolutely.
Just remembering that for me, like it's all part of the plan. I'm still working my butt off. I'm able to make money to pay for these flights. It's not the end of the world. And just continuing to move forward. Like that's really all you can do is what do I need to work on? Okay, let's move forward. And I think having a team around you, really good support system is huge because I know I can go to people and they're going to keep encouraging me and we're going to work together, and knowing you're not alone when you feel like you failed, I think is huge.
A strong support system to encourage you. Then you said something about how finding faith changed the way you viewed yourself, and you had innate value and innate worth. And it was not at all about winning, failing. That must have been so significant.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to talk more about this. It was very cool to know that I was chosen and sought after by Jesus before I even knew who he was. And learning that truth of his putting his yes on the table just freed me up to receive his love and receive his grace, because it wasn't anything I did. And so that was just like, my world was just like flipped. I was like, what is this? Like, are you sure? Like, really? Like me? And yeah, it made my confidence in more than just myself, because when I was putting my faith only in, how good am I at volleyball, then when I would win, I would feel great. And when I would lose, I would think, oh no, I can't post this on Instagram, or people aren't going to think I'm this great volleyball that I'm building myself up to be. It's like everything is like challenging or building up this identity that I thought I had. And so just realizing that my identity is completely separate from volleyball. Like if I stop playing volleyball altogether, I could still bring light into the room of wherever I'm going. And, my worth is not tied to how well I play. And so that just frees me up to be who I am and walk in that with confidence. And so that's what I'm trying to share with these younger athletes as well, is just, this is my experience. And I hope that you can feel this way as well. I think that's the beauty of sport. Like it can be an avenue for worship if you allow God to be your number one and just enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah. I would love to hear a little bit more about that too. This idea of your sport could be your worship. How does that work for you? When do you find that you're worshiping God with your sport?
Yeah, I think I love the analogy of, like, if you're walking down the street and you see a person like playing the guitar or singing, and they're just totally immersed in what they're doing, and it's beautiful. I think there's a difference between showing off and arrogance versus just fully loving what you're doing. And I think there's such a light and such a love that you can see if someone is just like loving what they're doing and doing it well and doing it to the best of their abilities. And I think that can just be so glorifying to God, because he's given us these abilities and he's given us these emotions and desires and passions. And so I think being passionate about things, I think, is beautiful. And I don't think we should go into anything and just kind of cruise through it. I love when people are passionate and they show their passion. And yeah, I think that those are just gifts from God. And so when you live in that, I think that can be glorifying to him.
They're not afraid to live into how God created them. That's what gets exciting. They're passionate about what it is they were called to, they were chosen for. Yeah. Now that's beautifully said. Beautifully said. When you're with this new with the change that happened for you, what time frame was that in your career when you had this connection with God and went, wow, this makes a lot more sense for life?
Yeah, that was in 2020, at the end of 2020. I moved in with some new roommates, and they, were believers and read their Bibles and went to church. And I was just like, whoa, what is all of this? And started asking them a ton of questions. And then in 2021 in the summer, I was baptized. And then my final season with USC was in 2022.
Mm.
So even though I had faith in God in 2022, I still went through that time, that period of struggle at USC. So it's not like I had belief in God and everything was like sunshine and rainbows. There were still struggles, but it's having that rock in the struggles that is not me. It's outside of me and something that can never be taken or changed. So that was just so reassuring, that he's present and he's with you, whatever you're going through, highs and lows.
It gave you that rock to go through those challenges and face parts of yourself.
Yes, because he already knows everything that's going on. There's no hiding.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. When you're preparing for to play, right? What do you do mentally? What do you do physically to get yourself in that space?
Yeah, I have this ritual, I guess you would say, or just this grounding. How do I even say? Just something I do as part of my warm up. And I will lay out my towel on the sand and I'll put my headphones on and I'll just lay there with like my hands behind my head, my legs out, like I'm just laying like in a field looking up at the sky. And I just take like 5 minutes to just be there and just be present and listen to, try to just be grateful for where I am and clear my mind. But sometimes like doubts will creep in or thoughts will creep in. And that's kind of my time to address them before everything starts and just remind myself that I'm prepared. I have no idea how this game is going to go. So there's no point in worrying about it because I've done that a lot in the past. I'll worry about something and then it ends up not even happening. So yeah, that 5 minutes, I'm just able to lay on the ground, remind myself that I'm just playing a sport and there are bigger things going on in life. And that 5 minutes then gets me ready then I start stretching and doing my dynamic warm up and getting ready to go for the game. But that's been a big thing that I do at practice as well, to keep that kind of familiarity of like, okay, I'm here, I'm checking in to what I'm doing. And then I don't do it afterwards, after the game or after practice, but I don't know, that could be a good thing to do to kind of close the book. I don't know, but it's been really good to help prepare me to get into that space.
It grounds you so powerfully, it sounds like, and helps you connect with yourself and any aspects of yourself that's emerging that you need to address before you even start playing. Is there anything in particular you listen to with your headphones?
Yeah, I have 2 different playlists.
Okay.
One is more like soothing and it's worship music. And the other one is more like upbeat, like Christian music. Like sometimes there's Christian rap in that playlist. And it just depends what feel like I'm needing. Like sometimes I might be too hyped up and I'm like, no, I need this like calm, smooth music, or I need a little more energy. So one of those 2 playlists usually.
But you know what it is that you need. Each time you can just feel it. Absolutely. Yeah. So your story is really inspiring, and you've given a lot of ideas about how people, whether an athlete or someone else, can embrace challenges. Specifically for young athletes, we do have a lot in Southern California, and we're in San Clemente here. We have a ton of athletes. For young athletes who might be struggling with their own mental health with their performance pressure, the need to be perfect, is there specific advice you would give them on how they can balance both their performance and taking care of their mental health and their well-being?
Yeah, I think having someone to talk to is huge, whether it's a trained, sports psychologist, family that's really supportive, a friend group that is really supportive. And And I think, yeah, just having that team, that tribe, is really helpful when you need it, when times are really hard and you feel lonely and you feel like you're not reaching your potential or your goals. So having that support system is huge. And I want to just encourage younger athletes to focus more on the positives. And it sounds so simple, but it's not, because we're all trained to fix mistakes and to fix errors. And it's like, oh, what did I do wrong there? Because I don't want to do that again. And so we're focused so much on the negative, but it's like, don't think of a pink elephant and you're going to probably think of a pink elephant. So if we focus so much on the negatives, like it can spiral you down. And I've been through that, where again, it's just, you get to a point where you're like, I can't do anything right and nothing's good enough. And so it's really challenging those thoughts and remembering the good reps. That's so different than most of my career has been remembering. I could tell you every mistake I made in a game, but how often do we remember, yeah, that play was so good, I did this, and I really held that angle on the pass there. That was so good. I want to keep doing that. I really set my feet well on this set that I made. Like I want to keep doing that. So it's really telling yourself the things that you're doing well, because you want to replicate those things, instead of, oh, I just want to fix all the mistakes. You're like, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? I need to get rid of it. I did that this past week in practice. I asked my coach, like, what's going wrong here? What am I doing? And he said, it doesn't matter. All that matters is the present moment and this next task that you have. That's all that matters. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. He's right.
Oh, that's great that you have people pushing you toward that too. Remember, those are really good words of advice and that again would help anyone with anything that they're trying to achieve. Before we wrap up, I'd like to find out, is there something about you that people don't know? Maybe something off the court, something that you're passionate about that would surprise us.
Two things come to mind. One, I love to sing, and two, I love dad jokes.
No, and singing, is this like private singing in the shower, or is this you're comfortable in front of people singing? What kind of singing is this?
I sing in my church when I'm home and in town and they ask me. And then I've also sung the national anthem. That's my big thing at a few of my own professional matches and stadiums, but also like for other sporting events. But yeah, I think the biggest crowd I probably sang at was one of the volleyball matches that I was at. Yeah.
So you have a beautiful voice too. What a gift.
I just love to sing, but I'm scared you're going to ask me to sing. That's why I'm like, I hesitate to bring it.
No, I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do it. Because you really want to. Okay. And what is the latest dad joke that you've heard?
Oh, my dad just told me some. He's going to be so disappointed.
Is he the one who inspired this love for dad jokes? Is your own father?
Yes. He always has new material. And so that's why I try to tell a bunch of jokes to people to get new material to bring back to him.
And then it sticks for him. So yeah, he could be his own comedy show, it sounds like.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to think of a joke that's relevant to this.
Okay.
I don't know. The one that comes to my mind is, what did the pirate say on his 80th birthday?
What did he say?
Aye, matey. If you don't get it, that's okay.
I would have never thought that. Took me a hot second.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Well, Hailey, it's been so great hearing your story today, and your journey is an inspiration, not just for athletes, but for anyone that's striving to reach their goals and keep their mental health in check. So thank you for being here and sharing your experiences and your wisdom.
Thank you so much for these questions and just allowing me to share. This has been awesome, and I really appreciate it.